Types of joints. There are three main types of joints in the body. Fixed joints, which allow very little movement, such as the joints in the pelvis and the skull where bones are fused together. Slightly movable joints, which allow a little bit of movement. A good example of this would be where the ribs join the sternum with cartilage. So when you breathe in and out, you can feel your ribs moving slightly. And the one we're most interested in is freely movable joints, which are all the major joints of your body, like your elbow, your knee, your shoulder, your wrist, where lots of movements are possible. This is the synovial membrane here. This produces synovial fluid, which is all in here, which helps lubricate the joint and keep it working nicely. Ligaments are strong fibres which help attach bone to bone, keep joints in place. They also form, as you can see here, the inside of the synovial membrane and helps keep the synovial fluid inside the joint. Cartilage is found here and here at the ends of bone and acts as a shock absorber and stops the two ends of bones rubbing together. Tendons attach muscle to bone, so you can't see it on the drawing, but there'll be some muscle here, and they're very, very strong. We are mainly concerned about freely movable joints because this is what allows us to have such a wide range of movement for taking part in sports. And there's 6 main types. Next slide you'll be able to see whereabouts they are on the body, but there's gliding joints, hinge joints, ball and socket, pivot joint, saddle, and condyloid joint. You need to make a note of all these, and on the next slide you can see where they are. This diagram shows the 6 freely movable types of joints in the human body and where you can find them. So for example, the pivot joint, you can find it in your neck, between the top 2 vertebrae. Ball and socket joints, you can find in your shoulder and hip. Hinge joints, you can find in your elbow and knee. Condyloid joints, you tend to find in your wrist. Saddle joints, you find in your thumb. And lastly, gliding joints, you can find in your feet. These small bones in your feet move slightly over each other, and that's why it's known as a gliding joint. These 6 types of freely movable joints allow for lots of different movement planes in the human body. So just briefly, when your toes point down, it's plantar flexion. When your toes are raised, it's dorsiflexion. If you want to close a joint here, flexing the knee, that's called flexion. But if you want to straighten the joint, extend it out, that's known as extension. If you move your leg towards the center line, like this, it's known as adduction. If you move it away from the center line of the body, it's known as abduction, as in abducted by aliens. And if you turn your hand over here, so you're turning your arm over round like that, that's known as rotation. But if you're moving your hand round in a circle, that's known as circumduction. Circumduction of the shoulder. Duction. There you go, hope that you can see all that. And then you can have hyperextension that way, or flexion at your hands. And when you turn your hands over, it's known as supination and pronation. And the easy way to remember it is when your hand's in supination, your hands look like a soup bowl. So it's palms facing up. And finally, there's 3 types of cartilage in the human body. First one is elastic cartilage. Elastic cartilage can be found in the ear, and it's nice and flexible. Fibrocartilage is found between the bones of the vertebral column, and that is really good shock absorbers. So all that impact that goes through your spine is absorbed by fibrocartilage. And the final third type of cartilage is known as hyaline cartilage, or sometimes known as articular cartilage, but that's found at the ends of bones, as in here and here, in joints, at your knees, here and here, between your bones of your elbow here, and these cartilage help stop the ends of the bones rubbing together, and also do have some shock absorption function as well.